This is what Canadian David Rauser saw as he approached a Russian bunker in Ukraine's embattled Donetsk region last fall.
It was on November 10th, 2025. I believe it was the second or third day of a mission.
He was sent to clear the area with a small team. It was completely quiet as he stood outside the entrance. He shouts out in Russian, "Hands up,"
Подними руки.
and opens fire. But in the chaos, he too became a target.
What the f*** are you doing? Is he dead? Yeah. He's dead?
One of the guys in my team, he was new to the team, and I don't know why, but he mistook me for a Russian and shot me once in the head and once in the arm. My second in command came in behind me, and he saw that I was being shot by one of my own guys, and he stopped it.
I can't see nothing.
He was shot in the head and in the arm. Unable to see, he almost walked back into the bunker
I can't see much.
before his team grabbed him and tried to control the bleeding.
Oh, I'm so sorry, bro. I'm so sorry. Please don't die. Please don't die.
That was just over 3 months ago.
So I'm missing a piece of my skull right here. It's a little scary.
He takes off his shirt to show us the scar from where he was hit in the arm.
This was a big hole. This was a small hole. And this one they sewed up twice.
Rauser spent several months patrolling the forests in eastern Ukraine alongside members of the 63rd Brigade. Most were Ukrainian, but there were other foreign fighters as well. Rauser had no combat experience, but a deep connection to the region. As a child, he spent several years in Ukraine and Russia, where his father did missionary work. When we spoke to him, he told us that he moved back to Canada as a teen and settled in Alberta.
And in 2022, when the full-scale invasion happened, for me it was like 3 or 4 just sleepless nights. Like I was just focused on the news, and I was worried, but I was also confident. They're gonna stand. They're not gonna fall down that quickly.
A year later, Ukraine was still fighting, but struggling to hold back the Russians in Donetsk. And there weren't enough volunteers signing up to fight. Men were being drafted off the streets and in malls.
The fact that the war got more difficult maybe over time, I had the opposite effect. I felt I'd be okay, they need me now, so I should go.
When you told your parents you were going, what was the response?
Immediately to try to talk me out of it. But eventually they said, we understand why you're going, and they support me.
Once he arrived, he received just under a month of training. He had never spent time in the military, but had experience in remote places.
I fought forest fires for the Alberta government for 6 years. That definitely helped me here. There was a lot of real high pressure situations. I remember the first fire, my mind went to mush. I was just full adrenaline. That experience was helpful, and I learned how to control that a little bit. I learned how to use radios, navigate with a map, and to function in sort of a military structure.
But this was entirely new terrain. The trees became a help and a hindrance. The snap of a branch could give away his location, but the forest sometimes provided the only protection from drones.
You would just stop, stand next to a tree, hide under a bush. I spent a lot of days and even weeks just outside, moving around the forest close to the front line. We're attacked by drones sometimes, but you can evade them if you have some cover.
He spent weeks sheltering in bunkers, at times pinned inside by the near constant hovering of drones. But he continued to head out on missions, often patrolling the forests for Russian positions. Sometimes he would come across soldiers' belongings.
Ooh, I got a backpack. It's 6 o'clock here.
Sometimes their bodies strewn across the forest.
There was a range of Russian fighters out there. They had some scouts, and the scouts were well trained. They could move, they knew how to move quietly, how to stay out of sight. I've seen Russians out there who had a really good gear from head to toe, like top notch. And we've run into groups of Russians who were wearing, a baseball cap and a t-shirt. And, they have an old AK and a couple of grenades and very little gear.
On a few occasions, he and his team took prisoners of war.
The most common thing we heard is that from Russian prisoners is that they were just there for money. They got there not long ago. They hadn't done any real fighting.
For Rauser, he admits that his combat days are almost certainly over. Now he's waiting for paperwork and plans to head back to Canada soon. When we spoke to him, he said he would need at least one more surgery to put a plate in his head. As he waits to leave, he can't help but spend days following the turbulent political developments.
So one day it's Russia, the next week it's Ukraine.
And the whiplash of U.S. foreign policy.
I wish I could say, peace can happen tomorrow, this afternoon. I don't think it's going to, obviously. Hopefully in the next 6 months. Depends a lot on other world leaders. Like Trump is all over the place.
While many are trying to keep Ukraine front and center, it's hard.
And now what I'm asking for is a piece of ice.
Given the agenda set by Washington.
I hope the situation with Greenland gets resolved really quickly and they don't have to focus on that. But just Trump's attempt to go there and, try to claim that land as his own, I think it's going to push European nations to stand up more confidently and strongly, as they can't count on the U.S. to solve the problems in Europe. They're going to have to step up and sacrifice and do it.
The past 10 months have changed the way Rauser looks at memorials. In war, he has both killed and lost close friends. He's preparing to leave the country, but plans to return. He's considering an offer from his brigade to help with training, because Ukraine needs to keep sending more soldiers to the front to replace those lost in a war that keeps grinding on.